The morning sun rose slowly above the horizon, painting the forest in soft shades of gold and amber. A gentle breeze carried the earthy fragrance of damp soil and wildflowers, while birds sang in a chorus that seemed older than time itself. It was the kind of day when nature whispered secrets if one cared enough to listen. On a narrow dirt path winding through this vast forest, two figures walked side by side. One was an elderly man, his long robes brushing against the grass as he moved with a calm grace. His beard flowed like silver silk, his eyes sharp, yet kind, and every step he took seemed to carry the weight of wisdom. He was the master, respected far and wide, not for his power, but for the clarity of his insight into life. Beside him walked a much younger man, his disciple. The disciple was perhaps in his early 20s, curious and energetic, but also restless and often impatient. His eyes darted from tree to tree, from bird to bird, soaking in the wilderness like a child in a new playground. Though he deeply respected his teacher, he often struggled to understand the depth hidden behind the master's simple words. That day, the disciple believed they were on just another walk through the woods. He had no idea that this walk would change the way he thought about life forever. After a while, the master stopped. He bent slightly and pointed to a small green sprout poking through the soil at the edge of the path. Its leaves were fresh and tender, glistening with the dew of the morning. "Do you see this, my son?" the master asked. The disciple nodded, slightly puzzled. "Yes, master, just a small plant. Why do you stop for this?" The master smiled knowingly. "Uproot it." The disciple chuckled. "That's easy." He crouched down, pinched the stem between his fingers, and with almost no effort, pulled the sprout out of the soil. The roots were so tiny, they barely held on. He tossed it aside and stood up proudly. "Done." The master's lips curled into a soft smile, but he said nothing. He only nodded and resumed walking. The disciple followed, thinking little of it. Not long after, they came across another plant. This one was taller, 3 or 4 feet high, its leaves broad and vibrant, swaying gently in the wind. The master stopped again. "Try this one now," he said. The disciple frowned. "Really? Another plant?" But he obeyed. He bent down, gripped the stem with both hands this time, and pulled. It didn't come out as easily as the first. He had to tug harder, pushing his foot against the ground for leverage. After a bit of struggle, the roots gave way, and he managed to lift the plant from the soil. Dirt clung to the roots, as if unwilling to let go. The disciple brushed his hands together, slightly out of breath, but still confident. "There, that one was harder. But I did it." Again, the master only nodded, his eyes calm, unreadable. He started walking, leaving the disciple wondering why this strange exercise mattered at all. As the path curved deeper into the forest, the master stopped once more. This time, he pointed toward a young tree, about 7 or 8 feet tall. Its trunk was thicker, its bark beginning to harden, and its roots had already dug deeper into the earth. "Now try this one," the master said softly. The disciple's eyebrows shot up. "That? Master, this is no longer a plant. It's practically a tree." But the master only folded his hands behind his back and waited. The disciple sighed, walked up to the young tree, and wrapped his arms around its trunk. He pulled hard. Nothing happened. He pulled again, this time digging his heels into the soil. The tree trembled slightly, but refused to budge. Sweat formed on his brow. He tried pushing, rocking it side to side, kicking at the roots, clawing at the soil with his hands. Finally, after a long and exhausting struggle, he managed to loosen it enough to topple it over. The roots ripped from the ground with a tearing sound, and the disciple collapsed on the earth, panting. When he finally looked up, expecting praise, the master's expression was the same as before, calm, unreadable, and silent. He simply nodded and began walking again. The disciple, though proud of his effort, felt a little annoyed. Why does he keep making me pull out plants? And why won't he just say what this is about? After another mile, they reached a clearing. At the center of it stood a towering tree, perhaps 20 feet tall. Its trunk was thick enough that it would take 3 men with outstretched arms to encircle it. Its roots spread wide and deep, anchoring it firmly into the heart of the earth. Birds perched on its branches, singing freely, while the shade beneath it felt like a cool shelter against the heat of the sun. The master stopped in front of the tree, turned to his disciple, and said in a calm but firm voice, "Uproot this one." The disciple's jaw dropped. "What? Master? That's impossible. Look at it. It's huge. I could spend the entire day hacking at it and still not succeed." The master chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling. "Exactly, and that, my son, is the lesson." The disciple blinked, his breath still heavy from the last struggle. "I don't understand." The master stepped closer to the massive tree and laid his hand gently on its trunk. "This tree did not grow to this size overnight. Once, it was a small sprout, just like the first plant you pulled out so easily. Back then, its roots were weak, and a single tug was enough to end its life. But over time, with sun and rain, with soil and patience, its roots grew deeper, its trunk stronger, and now," he tapped the bark lightly, "now it has become almost impossible to remove. That is the nature of growth. Slow, silent, but relentless." The disciple tilted his head, beginning to see the glimmer of meaning, but not fully grasping it yet. The master turned and looked him straight in the eye, his voice lowered, becoming firm, almost heavy. "Habits, my son, are like these plants." The forest grew quieter, as if listening. Even the birds seemed to pause their song. "When a habit is new," the master continued, "it is weak, fragile, and easily removed. If you catch it early, You can pull it out with little effort. A lie told once can be stopped before it becomes a lifestyle. Laziness felt once can be corrected before it becomes chronic. Anger shown once can be controlled before it destroys relationships. These are like the small sprouts. Harmless, if removed quickly. He walked slowly around the tree, his hands brushing against its rough bark. But when you repeat a habit, when you allow it to grow unchecked, it sends its roots deeper into your life. The more you feed it, the stronger it becomes. Soon, it is no longer a mere plant. It is a tree with roots that grip your soul. At that point, my son, to remove it will require immense struggle, sweat, and sometimes pain. And if you wait too long, the roots grow so deep that you may never be able to remove them at all. The disciple lowered his gaze, his chest tightening as the truth sank in. He thought of his own life, of his laziness during his studies, of the times he chose comfort over discipline, of the small lies he had told to avoid trouble. At first, they seemed harmless. Now, he realized they were slowly becoming part of him. The master's voice softened, yet carried the weight of truth. That is why I made you pull out these plants, so you could feel with your own hands what I cannot explain with words. The deeper the roots, the harder the struggle. Habits are exactly the same. If you want to change your future, change your habits while they are still young. Do not wait until they have become trees. The disciple felt a lump rise in his throat. For the first time, he truly understood. He fell to his knees, bowing his head. Master, I see it now. I thought habits were just small actions, things I could control whenever I wished. But now I know they control me unless I act early. The master placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Wisdom begins when you stop underestimating the small things. A seed can grow into a tree, just as a single action can grow into a lifelong chain. That is why the wise guard even their smallest actions carefully. Tears welled in the disciple's eyes, not of sadness but of gratitude. He looked at the great tree one last time, realizing it was not just a tree, but a mirror of his own life. That day's lesson did not end in the forest. It grew within the disciple's mind, echoing in every choice he made afterward. Years later, when he himself became a teacher, he told the same story to his students, pointing to trees, plants, or even stones, reminding them of the quiet truth. Your habits build your future. Lie once, and you can stop. Lie 100 times, and you will struggle to be honest again. Skip work once, and you can recover. Make laziness your routine, and discipline will seem impossible. Lose your temper once, and you can apologize. Feed your anger daily, and you will destroy the people you love. The disciple learned to treat every action like a seed, asking himself, do I want this seed to grow into a tree in my life? And through that awareness, he slowly reshaped his destiny. This story isn't just about a master and his disciple. It's about us. We all carry within us seeds, tiny habits we water daily, without even realizing. Every time we choose kindness, patience, and discipline, we are watering seeds that will one day grow into towering trees of strength and peace. But every time we feed lies, anger, laziness, or addictions, we are allowing those seeds to sink roots into the soil of our lives. The forest is our life. The plants are our habits. And the question is simple. Which trees do you want standing tall in your forest 20 years from now? So, remember the master's words. If you want to change your future, change your habits now. Pull out the weeds while they are still sprouts. For once they grow into trees, they may stand taller than your will. And with that wisdom, let us walk our own paths with awareness, courage, and discipline. Because in the end, it is not luck, not fate, but our habits that shape who we become.